And the Constitution went further to provide redress for those people. When we look at section 19.6, and went further to state, Honorable Speaker, with your permission, on section 37, it states, and that these ones are all in the entrenched clauses of chapter 4 on fundamental rights. Meaning, even if we want to connive and change this, we must come back to you people. We cannot change it here. These are the clauses I'm reading about. And that section 37 says, if any person alleges that any of the provisions of section 18 to 33, they are all the fundamental rights, or section 35.5 of this chapter has been, is being, or is likely to be contravened in relation to himself or herself by any person, he or she may apply to the High Court for redress. 2 says, an application may be made under this section in the case of a person who is detained by some other person acting on the detained person's behalf. If you are detained, you cannot do it, somebody can do it on your behalf. So the relevant provisions are available for those who flout these rights. Just like we said, not stealing. If you steal, we take you to court. So if somebody violates your right, go to the courts, get your right, get your redress. If the court's instructions are flouted, you have a right to point to the government. The court says Honorable Neti Balde has been detained unlawfully, and therefore he should be released, or that he should be given compensation of that amount. And the government says, no, we will not release him. They can only say, no, we will not release him if they appeal against it, pending appeal. But otherwise, they cannot say. If that happens, then you have a right to say, we are being arbitrary. We are detaining people without justice. But in the absence of that, how can you say that? If you feel, I feel you are wrong, you feel you are right, go to the court. If there had been no provisions that would allow you to have redress, then there is a problem. But all these provisions are there in our statutes. In our statutes. On the issue of sedition, libel, false publications, Honorable Speaker, I said it once, that the pen is a powerful instrument that can do good and equally create chaos. That's true. It's powerful, and those who must handle it must handle it responsibly. In the absence of that, we will go into chaos and anarchy. Libel. Why do you have to accuse me of something that you cannot prove? You accuse me of a lot of issues that is degrading, character assassination, and you have no evidence. For you to do that to me, and you having a punishment for that is wrong, but you can do it to me if I have no other recourse. And what does it say, Honorable Speaker? Let me just remind you. The Criminal Code on seditious publications imposes a fine of 50,000 or a minimum of 1 year imprisonment, or both. Section 178 on libel, defamation, imposes a minimum imprisonment of 6 months without the option of a fine. Section 181 on false publication imposes a minimum imprisonment of 6 months without the option of a fine. Section 114 on false information to a public servant imposes a $500 fine and a minimum imprisonment of 6 months. To the time of this outcry of the execution, we have not heard a voice that would tell us, hey, look at there is this death clause, and we don't need it. We have had people being convicted and sentenced to death. Nobody said anything about it. We know that you are sentenced to death. It means you should be executed. No crimes. And what the law provides, unless it is amended, is what should happen. So as at now, before any review of the laws or this constitution, the laws that are in place now are what should go by. If you go contrary, you'll be found wanting. And the law provides that the president should specify the place of burial of those executed. As he rightly said, there was no personalification of going to the parents, etc., etc. And he feared that some of these people are Muslims. How are they buried? That insinuates giving us a non-human face, as if we are not human beings. That as Muslims or as Christians, we will face Allah tomorrow. We will, after somebody has been executed, we will do otherwise to the corpse. That is a bad reputation. Probably they may do that, not us. We respect. And it is with difficulty. We all know it. These executions, the president himself talked about it, called various leaders, because the Gambia is a haven for peace. We don't know anything. Before, if people fight, it's news in the Gambia. News. You hardly hear of people stabbing one another. That would be the headline news for everybody, talk of the town. To a time when people kill each other just on flimsy excuses. Warnings were given. And the law states that you should be, if you are found guilty through the process, you will be executed. People continue. A signal was sent. As bad as we may think, it is our law. It is our law. Honorable Speaker, the minority leader was wise enough to make reference to Section 207, 1 and 3. Section 207, I think I made mention of it. We never made any hidden agenda. The freedom and independence of the press and other information media are hereby guaranteed. I read that. And 3, the press and other information media shall at all times be free to uphold the